Hello everybody, welcome to yet another reading vlog. This is for August of 2022. Welcome! So this month I am already into 2 books. One is for my 100 Epic Reads of a Lifetime poster, and that is Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. It is this sort of dark academia adjacent novel about these 3 people who are at this boarding school and it's sequestered and being trained for something. It's all building up to something, and that something is that they're like clones or something. It doesn't really matter. As of now, I am almost done it, and I don't see the point of it. I will talk a bit more about it in my vlog, but yeah. And the other book I am reading is I am listening to the audiobook of A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. It is a dark romance, Hades and Persephone retelling, and I'm going to be saying this in the literal and in the insulting sense. It is basically just 50 Shades of Grey. Like, I am not joking. Hades is like some billionaire philanthropist, and Persephone is like a journalist, and her contract is that she's for half the year contracted to him, and for half the year contracted to her, like, journaling publication to write articles for them. So that's the weird way that they've tied in that part of the myth. I don't like this because it's just really gross and really, like, domineering, and Hades is very controlling and gross, which if he were the literal Greek god in the literal Greek myth context, yeah, that makes sense. But there's this weird half-world where, yeah, they're gods, but also they're people, and there's clubs, and there's journal publication. I don't know. It's a lot. I'm not liking it at all, clearly. I just wanted to try it out because it's another myth retelling and I am into those. And the more smuttier scenes are pretty typical. They're very boring. No one wants to say the word clit. I wish they would. So that's my update for now. I will let you know what I'm reading next. Why does my face look so red? I mean, I was just outside, but I look like I just ran a marathon. So, it has been a few days, but I'm finally here to update. Today, I just finished Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I'm giving the book 4 stars. This book tells the story of a fictional band, Daisy Jones and the Six. They were a popular band in the 1970s, and the entire book is told through each of the members giving their own interview. Now, Taylor Jenkins Reid is really, really good at gimmicks, it seems, and this was a really successful gimmick. I really liked it, and I was pulled into it immediately. Very, very, very easy to read. I was even reading this at work, so that is another plus. I did not see the mini twist coming at the end, so that was another positive. But I just felt that there needed to be more events in the book. A lot of it was incredibly character-based. It was all leading up to a point, and then that point sort of fell. There was no huge cataclysmic event, no huge death, no huge, like, scandal, nothing. No scandals! This is a rock band from the 1970s. No scandals? I just wanted a bit more meat in this sandwich, but it was a very good sandwich nonetheless. And the second book that I'm currently reading, I am listening to the audiobook of These Violent Delights by Micah Nemerever. I believe that's the author's name. It is not the YA These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. It is a separate novel about 2 boys in college developing a relationship and facing the hardships currently that both of their families are putting upon them. It has been described as both Call Me By Your Name and The Secret History put together. There is no major age difference, I will give it that, but It's more like The Secret History in the way that the main character is so brutally lonely and relatable, and he is trying to make a friend and just trying to understand what friendship is. So far, it is just beautifully written. It is incredibly poetic. I've teared up a few times while listening to it. It's just very relatable to me personally. There's one specific part where he is trying to mirror an interaction between a person, like two people, and it was gripping, it was heartbreaking, because like that's really relatable to me, trying to understand the cues and connections of other people. I'm choking up now. I'm officially halfway through the book as of today, and so far it is amazing, it is incredible, and I want to own a copy very, very badly. It is a very well executed book so far. Narrator for the audiobook is solid as well. So the month started with a little bit of a thud, but it's picking back up again, and I'm excited to see where the rest of the month goes and what I read next. I have to go to work in an hour. Hi there, it's a new day. I'm no longer sobbing, as you can see. I thought I would add this clip in to say that it was good crying. It was great. I gave the book 5 stars. I really, really enjoyed it. I can't even begin to explain how good it was, because I know a lot of people won't react well to this kind of book. A lot of people have DNF'd it because the middle apparently drags, but I think that it was a fitting slow burn to what happens in the story. I really, really liked it. It's probably going to be my favorite of the year. I can't believe I'm saying that, but 5 stars, holy crap. I already want to reread it. I already want to re-listen to the audiobook. I just want it like constantly playing, in the background. But yeah, These Violent Delights by Micah Nemerever. 5 stars. One of my favorites of the year. I want to own it so badly. I want it to be like in my blood, In the meantime, I've already finished another book. I listened to the audiobook of Kiss and Tell by Shannon Tweed. If you don't know who she was a Playboy model, Playmate of the Year. She was an actress, and she was with Gene Simmons for a very, very long time. They have 2 kids together, but I think they have since broken up. If you don't know who Gene Simmons is, he is the guitarist, I believe, of Kiss. He's the demon-faced one with the really long tongue. It feels weird to have to explain that because I grew up knowing who he was. I watched their reality show, Gene Simmons' Family Jewels, about the family. Just another early 2000s thing. It's one of the things that I'm fixated on. And also I wanted to hear her perspective about being around the Playboy Mansion in the 80s, which I know now is sort of the best time to have been in contact with Playboy and Hugh Hefner. And she has a positive experience with him, and I think it's important to see all of the perspectives of Playboy and who faced what etc. The book was thankfully very, very short because she didn't have a lot to discuss. She had a sort of traumatic experience in her childhood regarding her father and an injury, and she lived a pretty crazy life. She's pretty flippant about some of the underage relationships she was in, and that's the only time I ever felt a little bit uncomfortable, but otherwise her life is pretty standard, not a lot going on, so I am glad that the book was pretty short. The audiobook was only 3 hours long, so I was able to get through it in like a day and a half. So that is my other update for the month. I'm going to try and read one more book this month. I think that's a fair assumption for me to make. I just have no idea what that book's going to be yet, so stay tuned. The wrap up. You're going to see me progressively get sweatier and sweatier because it is super hot out today. So this month I read 7 books and they're all pretty varied in my star rating. I gave 2 2-stars, 3 3-stars, 1 4-star, and 1 5-star. So the first book that I read was for my 100 Epic Reads of a Lifetime poster, and that is Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. I ended up giving it 3 stars. As I said in both this video and in my proper poster vlog, it was just a lot of meandering, not a lot really going on. The sort of sci-fi twist kind of fell with a thud, and I don't like messages where at the end of the book it's just everything's hopeless, you can't change anything. It's just very bleak, which I'm sure that's the whole purpose of this book, but you know, I'd like some sort of lesson other than just bleakness, and this was very bleak. Next, I listened to the audiobook of A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair, and I ended up giving that one 2 stars. It is literally just the 50 Shades of Grey story, like the plot, but with Hades and Persephone, where Persephone works at a journaling publication, and she is contracted to spend half the year writing about Hades, and then half the year not. That whole thing got all messed up. But anyway, it was just a really gross dynamic. It wasn't fun. It wasn't a fun power dynamic between the two gods. Persephone's not even a god in it. She's hardly a god because her, like, magic got suppressed or something. And so Hades has this, like, more than one power imbalance over her because he's a billionaire and a god and an older man. It wasn't a fun power imbalance, sort of like a vampire and a human, where that is, you know, not ever going to happen, they would get into an argument and then immediately just start screwing. It wasn't even like the tension heated up. It was they were literally screaming at each other and then they just started like raw dogging. It was weird. I found it very, very weird. So I didn't like it. I don't think I'll continue the series if there are more. Next, I read Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and this one was a 4-star for me. Really, really good gimmick, really easy to read, really interesting story, but as I said, I wish there was a bigger event or scandal, a bigger thing during the climax, or even just throughout the book. They didn't do anything, you know, huge 70s scandal, and like they hinted at stuff, but they just brush it like, oh, that's just Daisy, she's a sexual girl, and like you need the horrible 70s mindset. You need the horrible 70s mindset. There was one. So just not enough meat for me. But I still do highly recommend it. It is a popular book for a reason. It's pretty good. Next, I listened to the audiobook of These Violent Delights by Micah Nemerever. 5-star read. We'll have to reread that again. We'll have to own a copy just to process everything I went through. I can't even explain the book to you. It's just sort of is what it is. A lot of people have DNF'd it because they found the middle slow, but I found the middle a perfect build up to what happens in the book and perfect evidence for why they do that thing. So I just can't speak about the book highly enough. I'm practically speechless about it. Like, I love this book. I need to reread it though just to make sure, but I was blown away. Holy crap. These last 3 books I didn't really speak enough on during my vlog. I had sort of a hectic month, so I do apologize. But the next book I read was the Moth Diaries by Rachel Klein, and I ended up giving that one 3 stars. It is sort of a mini Carmilla retelling, where it is girls in a boarding school and there is a new student named Ernessa, and the main character feels drawn to her and repulsed by her, and there's a lot of vampiric stuff going on amongst these teenage girls. It is an epistolary novel, and I thought that it was very well written. You could tell that it was through the voice of a 16-year-old. I thought that it had very, very good build-up, and the themes were very excellent. It was very set in its themes of death and change and mirrors, and the moth imagery was very, very excellent. I did enjoy it, but it's not a favorite of all time, but I would recommend it as a very good standalone vampire novel with homoerotic tones. So I then listened to the audiobook of Kiss and Tell by Shannon Tweed. I ended up giving that one 3 stars. It was too short to have any real meat in it. It's mostly just her bragging about how good of a sex life she's had, how awesome the Playboy Mansion was, and how awesome Gene Simmons was. You get a little bit of her childhood and upbringing, which is a real story, but then after that, not much for her to say, so it was just a very, very simple read. I got it done very quickly. And then finally, since I haven't talked about it yet, I read Mr. Darcy Vampire by Amanda Grange. 2 stars, oh man. This book displays itself as a sort of sequel to Pride and Prejudice, where Elizabeth and Darcy are married and now they're going on their wedding tour, but things aren't what they seem. Ooh, there's something Darcy hasn't told Lizzie yet. It has absolutely nothing to do with the themes of the original novel. It just alludes to the characters from the first novel like an old fan fiction. It's like, oh, I remember when my sister and I did this? Remember when I saw you because I went to visit my sister when she was sick? Oh, remember this guy? And it had nothing to do with anything. It was just their wedding tour as they go to Paris and an old Dracula castle, like a literal Dracula castle, but it wasn't Dracula, it was a Polidori, like boo, like stupid, like dumb. And then they go to Venice and it's just terrible. There's hardly any vampiric anything in it. No one has fangs, no one feeds off of each other, no one kills people, nothing. I'm guessing this was published or written during the Twilight era, because all Darcy does is not touch Lizzie, complain about not touching Lizzie, being like, oh man, I can't touch you, I'll ruin you, eh. The point of vampires is sex. Like, I don't understand who would want this. So it failed not only as a pseudo Pride and Prejudice spin-off, but it also failed as a vampire novel, and at the end, I don't care about spoilers, Darcy gets cured of his vampirism. Boo! Throw tomatoes at this stupid story. I hated it. So that was my month of reading. Although it was a very busy month, I managed to read a lot of books, a lot of varied books. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll be back with more reading vlogs and other videos very, very soon. See ya. Bye!